Hello there. It's 6:39 p.m. on Thursday, the 2nd of April, 2026, and I honestly don't feel like I have much to say, but they say that wine always turns everything fine into divine. So let's see if that's true. I just came up with that little phrase because I was staring at my wine and I was like, man, I don't really feel like I have anything to say. And I was like, well, I guess you could start there. And then, and then it became poetic. Quite a day, if I'm honest. I was able to leave Pearisburg, but really, I listened to Harry Potter all day. Shout out to my dude Travis. Order of the Phoenix, which I have to say, there is like a very, very real pleasure to listening to an unabridged audiobook of a book that's like, how many pages was that? That was certainly one of the longest ones, if memory serves. I think it was like, I don't know. Goblet of Fire was very long. I think that was like 700 pages. And I think Order of the Phoenix was at least that much. Certainly in my memory, I can remember that book being quite thick, like, 3/4 of a roll of quarters. 3/4 of a roll of quarters. Lol. But yeah, man. I'm voluntarily illiterate. And so by choice, I don't read and I don't write as often as possible. But the Harry Potter series really was like, if there was ever any chance that literature would make an impression on my life and tempt me into the dark world of reading, Harry Potter was definitely it. I just never found another book. I mean, there were books here and there. It's kind of like the one that got away, Harry Potter. It's just like, wow, this is so good. Like, I don't even know why it was so good. It could have been my age. It could have been the quality of the writing itself. I mean, obviously I'm not alone in thinking that those books are amazing, but in whatever reason it was, those books were just so spellbinding, to make puns out of things. Oh man, I remember, I guess we're just going to go down memory lane. I remember when The Prisoner of Azkaban came out. Although, in fairness, it could have been The Chamber of Secrets. But I remember living in Orlando, Florida, and the book, I had asked for it for Christmas. That was a talk about a one-off, asking for books for Christmas. And I just remember that we were allowed to open one gift before we went to Christmas Eve service, and I was able to locate the book and like feel the imprinting, because the hardback books, the hardback versions, the actual letters of Harry and Potter would they were like embossed maybe, or they stood out from the actual cover itself, and so I was able to kind of like braille my way to finding it through all the stack of things, and I was just like, wow, I can't believe I'm actually about to get this book, because I had been wanting it so much. And then I got it, and yeah, man, like the idea of reading Harry Potter for the first time and having no idea where the story's about to go, that's one of the sweetest things I can remember about my own childhood. Just like, man, just feeling like so lucky. And then actually it's not so dissimilar from the Appalachian Trail, because like, as you start to read and you get like 20 pages in, and then it's like, oh man, 20 pages, that's like 5% of this book. Like, dang, I might be almost done, and I want so much more. But yeah, there's never really been another book, in my opinion, in my experience, that has held a candle to that. And yeah, I have I guess the last three or four. Well, I guess I have the Order of the Phoenix, so that's number 6, I think. So yeah, I have 3 others that I can go through. No, I think Order of the Phoenix is number 5, but I think there's only 7. I don't know. It's been a while. It's been a while since I've entered Harry Potter world, Harry Potter land. But boy, I'm loving it. I'm listening to these things too, and I'm just like, man, Harry's got like a really poor emotional toolkit. It's like, obviously it's good for the plot, but listening to how much he gets in trouble, I'm just like, dude, just like, I don't know. He's a different kind of dude. He's also, 15 in this book? So I guess, to be fair, I was recounting my own teenage woes very recently, so I can't pretend that, being twice Harry Potter's age and then some, that does a lot for, again, your emotional toolkit, which, I think that that's like a really real thing, an emotional toolkit, cool tit. Anyway, a little Freudian slip there. It almost looks like it could rain too. Yeah, like I oftentimes, obviously, I use Notebook LM all the time for listening to podcasts about my podcasts and then being able to prompt it to explore deeper. But yeah, they often will say that like my use of music and podcasts and audiobooks is like a tool for being able to do something like this. And I actually do agree, because again, as I've mentioned many times, I have to acknowledge the potential hypocrisy of like my feelings about social media and like the use of smartphones in general, because I use my phone all the time. Like I probably use it more than the average person, but I'm never using it for social media. And again, I guess that's where like the medium being the message is an important part of like what I'm doing. The medium audiobooks, the medium music, the medium podcast, that is the message. And as far as I'm concerned, those things haven't really been corrupted in any way that is similar to social media. But, I don't even know why I'm talking about that. But I do feel like this wine is doing the trick. It was quite a day. I escaped Pearisburg, which I remember, I think it was 2019. I remember going to the Food Lion before leaving Pearisburg in 2019 and hearing some guy say that he was stuck in the Angel's Rest vortex and that he had been in Pearisburg for like a week. And I just can't even imagine, outside of illness, injury, or, well, that's about it, actually. Like being there for that long, I would be so stir crazy. Like it was all that I could do yesterday just to, I didn't force myself to relax. I did honestly relax, but I was relaxing knowing that it was like going to pay dividends. I think that's another thing that is vastly different between this time on the Appalachian Trail and then my 2022 hike, where I was just like obsessed with big days. And I had so many big days, like regularly doing 30 miles. And I could have done 30 miles today if I wanted to, but I'd have to find an extra gear at the end of the day. Although end of the day miles, if I'm honest, those kind of come a little bit more easily. Well, I guess it depends on my state of mind, but sometimes they just feel like easy bonus miles. Like I found this pretty cool campsite that's like, I don't know, what mile am I at? Let's see. Not that it means much, but you could definitely follow along if you wish. I am at mile 657.8, and I don't even know if a campsite was mentioned for this actual area per se, but I filled up with water because there's like a creek that's really close to here, but I don't like to get water from really big water sources just because I feel like the chances of them having pollution is greater. There's a lot of things you have to concern yourself with when it comes to collecting water. I guess I should say I statements. There are a lot of things that I concern myself with when it comes to gathering water, and by and large, if I can help it, I don't like to get it from streams that are large, just because, again, there's a lot of sources feeding into it, and there's a lot more chance of contamination of various different types. But, in a bigger stream, the thing that I'm really worried about is like chemical pollutants, agricultural runoff, and then also trash, people throwing trash into the water. And then generally speaking, like the possibility of dead animals being somewhere in it as well, that kind of thing. So I ended my day with 3.5 liters of water. Well, let's call it it's a little over 3.5. And boy, my pack was so heavy. I took it off when I got here to kind of survey the possible places for camping, and just lifting it with my arm, I was like, God, I can't believe I had this on my back. Like, this thing weighs feels like 45 pounds. And that was definitely a theme of the day. A really, really regrettably heavy pack. Not only just because I had done a full resupply for 3 days, which is, that's 125% of what I would prefer to be carrying at any point. And I also, there was like a huge ridge walking section today that was, how long was that? It basically started at mile 8 and it went all the way to mile 19.9, I think it was. So like 11 miles of, pretty exposed ridge that was, very hot. Thankfully, generally speaking, it was a gentle terrain. There were no real big climbs as soon as you got out of Pearisburg, but there was a pretty decent climb out of Pearisburg. It was like 2,000 feet or something like that. But yeah, the last reliable water source was 13.9 miles ago. Well, actually, that's not true, because there were some other ones closer. But yeah, suffice it to say, I had to carry... I guess I carried about 2 liters of water during that stretch, because I was just like, I don't want to have water anxiety. And although I hate the idea of carrying what I guess was about 5 pounds of water in addition to 3 days of food, oh man, I feel like I'm it's weird because I don't feel weak, but a certain part of me does, because I'm just like, man, my pack just feels so heavy. This pack still, it carries really, really well. I know how much worse that would have felt if I had my old Osprey, but even still, it's no fun to carry so much water. I passed a group of people. There weren't very many people on trail today that I saw, but I passed a threesome. It was like a grandfather, his granddaughter, and then I assume his daughter. And they said that they were carrying really, really heavy, and I can only imagine how much water they had, because if you're only doing like 12 miles a day or something like that, that could mean that you need to carry like 5 liters of water through that stretch, depending on where you start and stop on it, which is just, it's crazy. But chronologically, I slept great last night. There's been this interesting thought experiment that I've had with myself, because I don't always feel very rested when I wake up. It's certainly like in normal life. Like, I think when I was living with my parents most recently, shout out to my parents, by the way, I'd typically go to bed at sometime, it was like close to 11 every night. And then I'd wake up at about 8 or so, 8:30. And I oftentimes wouldn't feel very rested. There could be a variety of explanatory factors there for sure. But I often wondered if I was oversleeping or undersleeping, because sometimes, shout out to my dad, once a month during the time that I lived with my parents, I would go to the food distribution at the Raven Gap Presbyterian Church. Shout out to y'all folks. And we would give out food from like 6 a.m. until like 8:30 or something like that. And I really enjoyed doing that. Like, I was able to find a little niche of like something to do while I was there. And this is like in the dead of winter too. So we're talking like pre-dawn, like super cold. It was actually really good training for the Appalachian Trail, just because it was something that most people probably wouldn't want to do, because the conditions were just very inhospitable. But, yeah, what I would do, I would just get cardboard and break down cardboard boxes and then put them in the back of trucks, so that we could eventually take the trucks with the cardboard to the dump. And I would feel pretty alert those days. Like, even though I would still go to bed at 11, I would wake up at 6 or, I don't know, 5:45, 5:50. And then just feel like ready to go for the most part. And so I was curious if I actually needed to sleep less in order to feel alert. But at a certain point, especially on this trip, I've been like sleeping 10 10 or 11 hours. It almost sounds like someone's coming by. But it's also a little breezy, so could just be trees talking. In any case, well, a bird just flew by in a way that makes me think that it was avoiding a human. Let's listen. I'm going to call that a false alarm. But yeah, I slept for, I think, like 11 hours last night, and I woke up and I felt great. Yeah. You know, I woke up at I think it was like 7 o'clock. And I was just like, man, I'm ready to get up. I'm ready to go. And so I did. Got up. I put my sleeping bag into the dryer because I was like, this would be a good opportunity to like fluff it up a little bit, you know. And so I fluffed it. Put my sleeping bag liner in there as well, and put my tent, which was pretty wet. It rained kind of aggressively a little bit last night. Like, I can't remember. I guess rain was in the forecast, but it wasn't that bad. It was pretty brief, but it definitely left my tent pretty wet. It's still a little damp, and my tent takes on such an interesting smell when it's wet. Like, it kind of smells like, what does it smell like? It smells like a well is what I'm thinking of. It's like if you smelled a well, like if you went down into a well and then smelled what it smelled like. That's what it reminds me of. I don't know if that's actually what it smells like, but yeah, man, I got up, started with some needfuls. I bought a bunch of material for a really nice breakfast. I went into the common area of the hostel, which I'd kind of made into my own like de facto chill spot. And I found that the host that was working at the the hostel, she had left early for work, and so I had the whole place to myself, which was kind of nice. I didn't see the dog Turk. Maybe she took him with her. I have no idea where he was. Didn't see him at all today. But yeah, I was able to like, you know, put dishes away, make a really nice breakfast of sausage and eggs, have copious amounts of coffee. Yeah, it was very relaxing. Listened to Harry Potter while I charged my phone. And the two guys who were still there at the hostel, Robert and Jimbo, shout out to y'all dudes, they kind of flittered in and out of the space in due time. But it was nice. You know, I eventually, at about 9:30, with heavy lamentations, donned my pack and made for the woods. And I have to say, I was honestly happy to be back on trail. You know, again, it's nice to be able to like have both the road and the trail as options. And the road walk from Woods Hole down to Pearisburg had definitely left me feeling happy about like the idea of being back on trail. And even though this section of trail was a little bit more demanding in terms of like making sure that you had everything you needed to successfully navigate the section without any kind of ill effects, yeah, it was just it was a mindless joy. You know, I was just like, well, you know, being on the road, like, one of the things that's annoying about it is that usually there's like a lot of exposure to the sun because obviously there's no trees around you. The trees that do exist, unless it's like really early in the morning or really heading toward sunset, the sun is not going to be obscured at all. And so obviously there's protocols that I have in place for making sure that I'm protected from its rays. But the woods offer, you know, a lot more opportunities for respite. And so it was nice, even though it was quite warm today, which is funny because, you know, start the countdown clock for when I start complaining more often about how hot it was today in the very near future, even though so recently it has been so, you know, injuriously cold. Yeah, I made my way. At the last water source, when I left Pearisburg before the long stretch of ridge walking, I met up with Bag Bowl. Shout out to Bag Bowl, and another person. Don't remember her trail name, but I talked with them for a little bit after having like a 20-minute break, and then pressed on for another 6 miles. Had another break, ate some food, drank some water, and yeah, I was just immersed all day in Hogwarts, Mm. And it's interesting listening to her book because after listening to the Stephen King book on writing, it's just interesting to hear her, to listen to the flow of the Order of the Phoenix and just kind of be like, oh, like I get these like little senses that like when I don't know what her writing style is like. It would be interesting to listen to interviews about how she actually does write, but my assumption is that she probably writes in a similar fashion to Stephen King, wherein like she doesn't actually plot things out. Maybe she does, I don't know. But Stephen King, he doesn't plot things out. He just lets the story like inform him, like he'll have an idea about something. Like his first story, I think, that was ever submitted for like publication was this story that he had written about a guy who was counterfeiting like this reward program that was like you bought some sort of thing, and when you bought it, it gave you a stamp. And you could send in a certain number of stamps, and then this company would like send you prizes. It's very similar to the reward program for Zen that I obsessively use myself. And it was based on a single idea because there was like a real program that his mom was using, and he was like, "What if ... And then he ended up writing this story, and I think listening to Harry Potter, I'm in a similar kind of mindset, and just thinking like, oh, I think when J.K. Rowling is like writing this stuff, she's like, oh, I could use this later, like these little details. I forget what they call it in the movies, but it's like some person's name and then gun. Like let's just call it Hitchcock's gun or something like that, where like if they show a gun in the first scene of the movie, it's because it's going to be used in the third scene of the movie, and it was like an establishing shot. And so, just listening to Harry Potter, I'm just like, oh, yeah, I can almost feel how she's like crafting this story in order to have these like Deus ex machina kind of situations where, because she said X, Y, and Z in the first parts of the book, those eventually become important plot points later in the book. And yeah, it's just an interesting way to listen, like to think about the person who was actually writing it and not necessarily be 100% immersed in the story itself. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun to listen to Harry Potter. I do love it. And so today was like a 21.5-mile day, and I have planned to do 3 22-mile days in order to get to Catawba Grocery, where I can resupply again. And so when I found this spot, I was like, well, this is like good enough. Like I don't want to keep looking. Like, the trail is hard, I think I've mentioned that before. It was hard on my knees today. I think that's pretty much the only thing that really felt like any specific kind of wear point. Just like the downhills, especially with extra weight, it's just so laborious. I do love it. Like I'm not discounting the magic of the trail due to its difficulty. If it wasn't difficult, it wouldn't be worth doing. But yeah, today was certainly, again, a return to form, I'm I'm scratching my chin right now, and I ran into that couple, or the threesome earlier today, of the grandfather, the granddaughter, and the daughter, and the man remarked that I looked a little clean shaven for a thru hiker, and I have been keeping razors with me, and so every time I've stayed at a hostel, I've shaved my face. I'm growing a mustache, but instead of like trimming the mustache, I actually want to see how long it can get and how kind of like unruly. I feel like for me personally, I don't have much of a beard, you know. I've tried growing them before, and I was fairly disappointed with the results. In 2022, I didn't shave until sometime far after Rangeley, and you know, I had like a bunch of like fuzzy kind of stuff, but it was nothing that I would consider a real beard. But I do have mustache hairs, and so if I could grow like a walrus style mustache, I think that would be interesting. I would just like to see what I look like with that, and so that is one of my goals. Like, what can this mustache do, you know? So, yeah, what else? I don't know. What else comes to mind? I don't know where I'm going tomorrow. Classic. I know that Catawba will be where I will get to Saturday. I also know that Sunday there's supposed to be the possibility of like, what was it? Almost a half inch of rain. So that'll be interesting. That would be a good day to road walk, potentially. Not sure if road walking will be on the menu for that, but that's something to consider. And yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm just excited to go back to Hogwarts. I'm at the point right now, for those who know, so Order of the Phoenix, you know, again, that's the 5th book, and what happens in that book, or at least where I'm at, Hagrid just got back from his secret mission that he was doing for Dumbledore, where he's trying to recruit giants for this upcoming possible war. And so, like, literally right before stopping the book and starting the recording for this clip, Dolores Umbridge went down to Hagrid's hut, and you know, Harry, Ron, and Hermione were all like crouched and covered with the invisibility cloak, and I'm so spellbound to find out what happens next. You know, again, it's been a while since I've entered this world, and I don't really remember what happens by and large. I remember, you know, one of the things that happens very early on in the book is that Harry has to go to a bunch of detentions because of his lack of emotional regulatory tools, and he has to write "I will not tell lies" over and over again on this special magical parchment, and those words are written in the back of his hand in a painful way, like if you were to use a scalpel on flesh. And I remember that makes an additional appearance. And yeah, how many hours do I have left of that book? Let's see. 13 hours and 7 minutes. So I'll probably finish that in the next 2 days. I think today was technically 6 hours of moving time on trail. So yeah, dude, just living the dream. Harry Potter, the woods, exercise, wine, it's all full circle. But the wine is gone, and my appetite is here. So I'll leave it there for now. 29 minutes is a pretty miraculous, you know, like, well, I didn't think I'd be able to speak that long. I was thinking about it throughout the day. I was like, dang, I haven't had my own thoughts today. I've really only just been consuming this story. And that was great. You know, again, like, if you can find something that allows you to just like listen to something that is tens of hours long that is a special treat. And I look forward to Harry ushering me further forward. And I also look forward to eating a bunch of food because, man, if I overpacked, I will make up for that tonight. This is something that needs to be done. So yeah, I'm gonna go do it. So for now, I'll leave it there, and I will leave you with a classic. Shout out to my parents. Love you. Bye.